If you like my videos, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment below if you have any questions. You will find a lot of timestamps to different parts of the video, such as Pantheon, gears and gems, so use appropriate chapter that you desire to see. So in this build I'm using Lancing Steel. The skill works by placing somewhere on the ground like a stack of knives or swords that's shooting out. Every now and then, whenever you cast it, you're gonna be wasting about 4 of those blades, so you have to constantly reload it. So you're gonna be pressing Lancing Steel twice, then you're gonna be reloading. So pretty much the gameplay of the build is using constantly 2 buttons. Overall, the build has a decent clear, I would say just like a very average, because you're gonna be applying the impales with the Lancing Steel, and then you're gonna be popping them with your like reload mechanic, and that's gonna be the bulk of like the clear speed for the mapping. Bossing is quite alright because we have like a fortify, we have a lot of armor, we have resist, so you won't be dying. But of course, every now and then you're gonna encounter our essence monster that has like a ridiculous amount of Arch Nemesis monsters, and you're gonna be getting a really shredded because of that. So I cannot show you too much of a super endgame stuff, because I recently just started doing T14, T16, and I started farming the Maven invitations, so it's gonna take me a while before I get like all the Phoenixes done and Elder Guardians and Cortexes Shapers and so on. So here's a minor problem of the build. Since this build is an off-meta build, you're gonna have to create your own items. I left couple timestamps every now and then when I was creating a ring. On the other hand, if you like self-crafting your own gear, you will find very enjoyable, as most of the items have to be created by you. You can use like harvest crafting. I'm using some essence for the rings. You can get like a helmet easy crafted by using the essence or like a harvest. So the gear is more or less achievable as long as you're just gonna be using the game mechanics that are provided for you. I will try to make a part 2 videos when I'm highlighting more of the super endgame stuff. This is the most problematic modifier for our build. It's called Steel Infused. If you've encountered the essence with just this modifier, you're just gonna do reduced damage. But if you get this combination with like a block and regeneration and haste, you're gonna have problems with killing the essence or rare monsters. So generally I'm currently farming between T14, T16, and I'm doing all the essence monsters, all the rares, I'm farming harvest, I'm farming expeditions, and every now and then of course I'm gonna encounter one of those like ridiculous modify 4 or 5 Arch Nemesis rare that's gonna be very tough to kill. Most likely I have to ignore it, or killing it is gonna take me a minute or so. But otherwise you can do most of the content with the minimum gear that I showcased in the gear section. I was able to manage to find a couple of endgame maps so you can see how the builds perform on the T16 Guardians. For the Bandit, we're choosing to help Alira. For our Ascendancy points, we go in Normal, Cruel, Merciless, Eternal. Flasks are very flexible in this build. You can use whatever flask you want, but I highly recommend using a Halloween life flask with the modifier instantly recover life on low life. Do not use divine ones, as Halloween is way better, as you can use it 3 times because it only consumes 10 charges and it can hold 30, so you can use it 3 times, and the divine one you can use it only 2 times, so this one is better. Then you can have like a movement flask, and I'm using the 3 resist ones only for the less damage taken from like lightning, cold and fire. Our helmet is a very basic rare. We're just looking for a lab enchantment, Lancing Steel Fire additional projectile, and after that you're gonna be crafting the helmet yourself, either using Essence of Spite to get an int or Essence of Greed to get a life. And after that, when you get your guarantee, let's say int, you're trying to get an open prefix so we can get the pierce, and anything above the int and the pierce, you're looking for some kind of life, any resistance, and this will be good enough for you for the time being. For your chest, we're just looking for a basic rare. Do not buy any astral plates because we're gonna be changing the implicit modifiers with the Eater of Words orbs and Searing Exile orbs. But generally we're looking for life, resistance and open prefix so we can craft increase maximum life. So for your amulet slot, you're looking for a Dex and Int base, and the anointment charisma is a mandatory. You cannot skip it, we need it. And then for the stats, you're looking for a life, resistance, open prefix for the non-channeling skills. Global crit multi is great. You could get some flat physical damage that's gonna help you out. Whatever you can squeeze on your amulet, go for it. The belt slot is very flexible. You can use your slata to get more damage, but if you're struggling with any life resistance, you can use a very basic cheap rare with stats, life, resistance, whatever you're missing. And eventually you can just swap out of the resistance belt to a slata or even something better. So for your boot slot, you're looking for life, resistance, maybe dex, int, whatever you're missing. And having an open prefix is a mandatory, as we want to craft increased movement speed and you cannot be chilled. So for our gloves, we're looking for any life, resistance, maybe some flat physical damage would be nice for the Paradoxica. But ideally you would like to have an open prefix so you can craft yourself a projectile piece pierce additional target. So Paradoxica is the best item for our build. So as soon as you can get as high as physical damage as you can get with some attack speed roll, or maybe impale chance, whatever you can afford. But Paradoxica is the best in-slot item for this build. Another best in-slot item for this is our Savior. The Trigger 24 Reflection, what it does, it makes 2 copies of your skill and they're gonna be attacking with you and firing the Lancing Steel. This pretty much doubles doubles your damage. On top of that, already Paradoxica is doubling your damage. So the combination Savior and Paradoxica for this build is very, very good. The stats on your rings you're looking for: life, resistance, maybe a int, dex, whatever you're missing, and an open prefix for the non-channeling skills is a mandatory. Your second ring follows the same thing: life, resistance, and an open prefix to get the non-channeling skills. So the best in slot ring is gonna be a steel ring. You wanna buy a high item level like 85. You wanna scour it so it's gonna stay white. Then you wanna use 4 catalyst abrasive wound. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's gonna give you the 20 quality. The physical damage went up, and then you're just hoping for the RNG god that's gonna bless you, and you wanna spam Essence of the Contempt for the flat physical damage to your attacks, and you're hoping for any life, resistance, maybe some stats, and an open prefix for the mana cost. Let's see what happens. First attempt, bad. Second one, there's some resistance. There is no life. Another one, nope. Nope. Oh, we have some int. We have no life. So we have some life and we have some flat physical. Alright, unlucky crafting session. Here's the gem setup for our helmet. We're gonna be using Petrifying Blood, Pride, Determination, and ideally you would like to have Enlighten level 3 over here. Once you have Enlighten, then you can drop down the Determination, increase mana reservation efficacy, and take your reduced damage from the critical strike, Mastery. Here's the gem setup for your main body armor. You're gonna be using Lancing Steel, crit damage, crit chance, vicious projectile. Eventually you can buy yourself Awakened vicious projectile. You're gonna be using brutality. You can upgrade your brutality to the Awakened one, and last link is gonna be Bloodthirst. At this link, if you're struggling to get your pierce either on your items or maybe on the jewels, I would replace Bloodthirst with the pierce support, so that's gonna help you out. But as soon as you get some pierces on your gear, I would replace pierce back to the Bloodthirst. And once you get in a very high budget, you can replace Bloodthirst with Awakened greater multiple projectiles. But just a basic version of GMP is not better than the Bloodthirst. Here's the gem stuff for our boots. We're gonna be using Blood Rage, Blood and Sand, Dread Banner, Arrogance. The only reason we're using the Blood and Sand, and you can keep it on level 1 unless you want to level up and sell it later on, is to get our life as low as we can to the 51% unreserved life, so we always are on the low life. If we take it out, your life just go way higher, and this mess up with your life flask because you're gonna recover above it. Obviously the Blood Rage is gonna degen you, but it's gonna take more time. That's why we're socketing the Blood and Sand to get us closer to 51% life. Here's the gem setup for your gloves. You're gonna be using Arrogance, linked with Precision, Anomalous Vitality, Clarity. Here's the gem setup for your weapons. We're gonna be using Sniper's Mark, linked with Mark on Support. And we're gonna be linking Life Tap level 1 into our Mark setup, because our Mark costs us 36 mana, and I have only 29 available, so I won't be able to cast our Mark. But since we're socketing Life Tap, now the Mark costs us life, and we can cast it whenever we hit a rare enemy. For your second weapon, you're looking for Fast Attack, Lip Slam, Molten Shell. We can swap Molten Shell with Steel Skin if you're doing the campaign. So there is a way to squeeze Flesh and Stone in your life. So here's what you have to do. You would have to drop down the Clarity. You would have to drop down the Blood and Sand. socket your flesh and stone that's linked with the arrogance. Then you would have to go on your passive tree, switch the mastery on your auras to 20% increase life reservation efficacy skill, and then you would have to drop down the vitality and the precision a little bit, so you have 51% of your life on reserve, and then you're gonna have a flesh and stone. This will give you a little bit damage or a little bit more defense wise, depends on which stance you're gonna be using. So in this section of the video, I will answer some very basic and quick question that most likely you're gonna be asking. So probably one of the first questions is gonna be, how do I get my physical leech? I get 0.4 from anomalous vitality, and your blood rage has a 1.2% physical attack damage leech as life. So another common question probably that you're gonna be wondering, where is the time that I should start using Petrifying Blood? To put it simply, when you're gonna be start doing your tier 1 maps. So after you finish your full campaign, then you can start going into Petrifying Blood and buying items to work around it. So another question is probably gonna be, how do I generate frenzy charges so I have a 100% uptime on them? To put it simply, when you're mapping, the Blood Rage will give you a frenzy charges on kill. You have 25%. When you're gonna be hitting a mark enemy, that's any rares or bosses, you have 10% to get a frenzy charges. Since we are spamming so many projectiles, to keeping our frenzy charges on the bosses is all the time, so we have no issues with that. So how do I get our mana leech? There's two possibilities. One, you're getting Fuel the Fight on your large cluster jewels. This will give you 0.4 leech mana, or you can simply spec for the time this 1 point over here, and you will get your mana leech. On top of that, you're using Clarity, so this will greatly help you out. You will have no mana issues. Another question is gonna be, can you make this build as a budget? Yes, you can. Our league started with this build, going through the campaign just on a 4 link and using a very basic 1C item such as this one, Scava. You will pass your white maps quite easy. The yellow map is gonna be a little bit difficulty, but the red maps you have to invest into the build. Otherwise, if you don't like the build, just skip it. Because on the red maps you have to start buying the proper weapons such as Paradoxica and Savior to get the damage. At start you're gonna be using Splitting Steel. This will get you enough to the level 12 when you're gonna get your Shattering Steel, and from level 12 I highly recommend using Shattering Steel up to you finish up your campaign and you start doing the first maps of tier 1, then you can transition into Lancing Steel. Do not go Lancing Steel before you finish your campaign. Lancing Steel requires a lot of gear to perform well. On the other hand, Shattering Steel is more or less a good skill on a lower budget. Lancing Steel requires about 2 pierces on your build to feel like more or less okay while clearing the map. You have a couple choices to do that. First, you could just simply socket a pierce gem. This will help you out, but would lower your damage because you're gonna be sacrificing either a Visage projectiles or Bloodthirst. So another possibility is to craft yourself a helmet that have 1 pierce. You can get the same craft on your gloves. You can use a jewel that gives you 1 pierce. So as long as you can get 2 pierces somewhere on the gear, maybe a jewel, or you can even go over here on the passives tree and get about 3 pieces over here, that should be good enough. So in Path of Building, in the notes section over here, if you click on it, it will take you to these notes. This is the list, the implicit modifier for every item that I recommend you to have, such as on the gloves. This says Eater of the World implicit will get you a pierce, but this value is from the lesser ore. That's the most common thing that you're gonna get. The greater ones will provide you with the 2 pierces. The same thing with the Chaos Threads. Let's say the 6% is the lowest, but I think that 12% is the highest. So you can play around with it. If you go back to the tree and you click over here, there's a section called Low Champ. This tree should be used for the people who starting leveling with this build, as this simply takes unwavering stance for the you cannot be stunned, and we're taking the wrong pathing over here for some leech nodes. This will help you out while leveling, but then at some point you're gonna have to respect out of these points and go back to the proper tree. As soon as you get your first jewel socket, you should instantly buy yourself a Lord of the Steel with the mod. The Call of Steel has increased speed use. What does it make is make the gameplay of the build feels much nicer. As you can see, you're gonna be spending your shards and then you're gonna be summoning them. The animation is like, not the instant one. That's why we're gonna be using the jewel. And the animation is pretty much instantly. So the gameplay otherwise is gonna be much smoother to play. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.